What was your name again?
Tell me, what's a timberman want with being a wiki?
Just looking to earn a living, just like any man. Starting new.
On the run.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk About Movies at the Waffle Press Podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about movies, and I bring on a guest that I think is super great and interesting, and we talk about a movie that we both think is super interesting. Doesn't have to be great, but oftentimes it usually is. Much like this week's episode with returning guest Alejandra Gonzalez, whose name I do actually remember this time. How are you?
Oh my god, that's right. You didn't even know what my name was the last time. We've come a long way, Diego.
We have, and to be fair, it wasn't like anywhere on the Twitters, and I had read your articles. I make mistakes because I'm a human being. That's what I'm going with.
That's a lie. You never read my articles.
I totally did, because that's how I found your work. That's how I found
Good
you,
point.
I think.
Good point. That's
Yes.
a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah. Got nothing on this. How are you today?
I'm doing, hanging in there. How are you?
I'm good. I had dinner before this podcast, because usually
Ooh.
I try to eat after I record things. And
Did you have waffles?
No, tragically, I did not.
Misleading
Yeah.
title.
I know. I'm fucking up. I got to change my whole brand now. Yeah, but then the problem was I just kept getting like so hungry because these things usually always go overboard when I'm
that's a
recording
good
with a certain group of people.
Especially
Matt,
me.
you know what? No, God bless you. You're like you help keep me on track, and it's not like a horrible overlong disaster that I have to spend like hours editing and trimming down.
No,
Matt,
we don't want that.
Yeah, no, please, no. But you came on this year for the first time to talk about Almost Famous, a great film.
Mm-hmm.
Then you came back to talk about The Witch, a film I had not rewatched because it cursed me. And now you're back to talk about Robert Eggers' second feature film, The Lighthouse, starring Willem Dafoe
Yes.
and Robert Pattinson.
Yes, and I'm surprised you didn't get a nosebleed with this one. I think it's not the witch curse. I think it's just Robert Eggers.
Yeah. So for those that didn't check out the Witch episode, and you totally should because it's one of the best ones I've done this year, I think.
Oh my god, thank you.
My pleasure. That film cursed me, and just careful with that one. The Lighthouse did not curse me, though.
Well, here's the thing: The Lighthouse did not curse you because it's generally about masculinity, right? But like, The Witch is about women, so because you're a man, you were cursed.
I think so. I'm the only one, though. Don't know what that says about me. That might not be great.
It's because you're involved with me somehow.
Oh god, and it's just like raining over me,
Yeah.
like a dark shroud. So why did you look forward to The Lighthouse? Just a quick recap before we go into the film itself.
So I was looking forward to it, of course, because everyone who knows me knows I'm obsessed with Mr. Eggers and his work. Mainly him. But, I knew it would be good. I also am a big fan of both Robert and Willem, so I was excited to see what their dynamic would be like on screen. And it was also a movie that I was going to watch at the Toronto Film Festival, so TIFF, and it was my first movie there. It was my first like big festival movie, so I was definitely looking forward to that for sure, and I don't think I could have picked a better movie.
Well, this is your first year going to that, right?
Yeah, it was my first year going, and this was my first movie, so it was like just premium movie watching for me.
Okay. How did you enjoy the festival? Because I haven't gone yet, but I think I'm gonna make the trek next year.
Yeah, I had fun at the festival. I met Shaq. I don't know what his @name is, but I know you know who I'm talking about if you're listening to this. He's my co-host on Sequels. And so I met him, and he was so great and so nice, and he came over to my Airbnb, and we just, like, shot the shit for a while. And then the festival itself was cool because, you know, like, it's exciting. It's so thrilling. There's, like, an adrenaline rush. There's so many people trying to watch the same movie you're trying to watch and excited to watch the same movie excited to watch, and then everyone's talking about the same movie you just watched when you leave the theater, and it's just great. And there's a lot of celebrities. Actually saw both Robert and Willem on stage, and Mr. Eggers too, but I couldn't really see them because I can't see without my glasses, but that's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Shaq was on our May episode this year talking about Guy Ritchie's King Arthur and a fuck ton of other stuff. It was a really fun episode, so everyone check that out as well.
Love Shaq.
But yeah, he's great. But I have to imagine that a movie like The Lighthouse, some people always say like, oh, this movie was really weird. I don't know if audiences are going to like be on board with it. And generally it's like, you know, like the Joker came out and everyone made a big hubbub about it, and you watch it and you're like whether you like it or dislike it, like it's not that radical of a film.
I agree.
You know,
100%.
like it's just not like people. I'm surprised people are still talking about it, if I'm being honest. But with something like The Lighthouse, like this is a genuinely weird, abstract, absurd film.
Yeah, it's definitely surrealist to me, and like I'm actually going to go watch it again tomorrow with a new friend I made in class, and I'm fucking scared because I think she's gonna be like, why did you take me to watch this? Should I be scared of you?
Quick synopsis. In late 19th century, two wikis, what do they call it? I don't know.
That sounds right.
Two men head to an island lighthouse as they're going to keep the light lit and guide ships home, but we never see any ships. We only see the one when they arrive, which I think is actually kind of very important. We'll get into that. Basically just spend a couple weeks together and try to go about their duties, and things start slowly ratcheting up. Things start getting a little weirder. The unexplained starts occurring at very specific and under peculiar circumstances. And it might be longer than a few weeks that they were on this island, or it might be a little less. And if you haven't seen The Lighthouse yet, I think it's fair to say we both give it a recommendation.
Definitely.
And I would recommend heavily watching it before listening to this episode, because we kind of talk about like everything.
Yeah, and also I saw the movie and I've talked about it a million times and I still don't know what the fuck I watched. So just be patient when you go watch it, because I don't think anyone will quite fully be able to grasp it the first time around.
Yeah, it's for such a simple, stripped down premise, it is kind of dense, especially towards the back half. Like, it might just be on my brain because I just did an episode on this too for Halloween. But like something like John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness, this feels very similar, where it starts off like you know, just even from the mood where this is gonna go.
Right.
But then by the end, it's just like it's hard to grasp onto any sense of reality. And In the Mouth of Madness is like way more literal. This is like, well, what do you take away from it? Yeah. And then by the end, I'm like, oh, I don't know yet, but I have to think about it. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, I think I got this out of that. And then I'll read different like interpretations of it, and I'm like, oh, of course it's that. And then I read something else, I'm like, oh no, of course it's that. And so that's been a lot of fun.
It's interesting and funny because I was going to write about the movie for Talk Film Society, but because I had seen it so early on in its like circuit, I didn't write about it because I couldn't read anyone else's review to kind of like help me like come up with something. But I don't know, I just kind of, similarly to The Witch, at one point I was just like, fuck this, I'm gonna stop. And it's the same thing with David Lynch. It's like, fuck this, I'm just gonna let this take me wherever it takes me. I'm not gonna think about it right now. And so that's like how I was able to enjoy this movie very, very much, because I know I have a lot of friends that actually didn't like this movie at all. And I think it's because it didn't just let themselves like say fuck it. You know what I mean? I think it's very important that you do that with this movie.
Yeah, I think Robert Eggers, he's clearly a fan of like those old fairy tales you get like told about in middle school and like early childhood, you know?
Yeah, I think I read like a tweet or something that was like, Robert Eggers listens to like like 11th century folk music from like the Vikings or something.
Oh, I totally believe it.
I
and
buy that.
And his next movie is about Vikings, so.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I don't even know if it has a title yet, but It's gonna star Alexander Skarsgård, I think.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it's like a Viking revenge tale or some shit. I don't know.
Man, I can't imagine him coming out with a bad movie. Like, this man knows film. Like, he knows film so well, and it just, like, permeates through the screen, and his passion for it too, and that's why I love him so much. Like, I can't watch this, and even if I didn't understand it, and even if it gave me like kind of like nightmares, I can't be like, I don't like this movie, because I know that there was so much passion put into it.
I mean, like you were saying, it really just takes you on like a journey, and
It's
if you
fucked.
can't get on board with it, much like the characters get on board the boat, that's not even like a clever thing, that's just literally what happens. But like, you know, like if you can't get on board with like stuff that's a little more surreal, I get it. I don't know how you watch movies, but like I can understand something not being for you.
Right. I mean,
But I've actually been very surprised. People I've talked to have like across the board really loved it, and I'm like, really, you liked it?
yeah.
Whoa.
So on my like timeline, I obviously have people from film Twitter, but I also have my real life friends and people I know. Like, I don't want to call them locals, but that's what they are. And then like I see them talking about the Lighthouse, and I'm just like so proud because they actually liked it. That makes me sound like an asshole, but it's like, I don't think the general public, like fucking Maria in your fifth period, is gonna like this movie. But I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm very excited to see how my friend Ursula reacts to it tomorrow. So I'll definitely keep you guys posted. But I do think it's been kind of refreshing to see how positively this movie has been received.
Yes, please keep us all posted.
I will.
But I will say, I don't think it's like elitist or anything to say like the general public or anything like that. Like, just we are in a like a closed bubble of people that watch movies on film Twitter. You know, like I think it's if like you start looking down at them, which you're not doing by saying that. Which is, I think, like, yeah,
It's
you're
not
good.
even
You're in the
that.
clear.
I'm making us. I'm aware that we're the fucking weirdos who watch this, and we're like, oh hell the fuck yeah, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they're the weirdos. I think we're the weirdos. So I don't know. I'm really excited to see how. I kind of want to drag my friends to watch this, because I dragged them to Midsummer and I dragged them to things like Fan and Thread and stuff, and they absolutely hated me for it. So I can't wait to take them to this and see how they react.
Oh, it's so funny. Like, I think I've talked about it on a podcast before, but like, I'm very close with both sides of my family, on my mother and my father's side. And every year, like, when we get together for like holidays and stuff like that, they're always like, "What'd you like this year?" Whatever. And they tell me like, "Oh, we checked out this because we heard it was popular." And so my godparents last year, they pulled me aside and they're like, "Did you see that movie, The Favorite?" And I was like, "Yeah, I really liked it." And they're like, "Why?" And I was like, "Well, I broke down why I liked it, and I still think that's my favorite film of that director's." And they're like, "Yeah, it was really weird." And I was like, "Well, I wouldn't have recommended it to you." You know, is kind of the whole, like, I think that's a big part missing in a lot of film discussions, that like, it's just okay when something's not for you. You know, like, I'd recommend The Last Jedi to everyone who has like taste, but I wouldn't recommend The Lighthouse to everyone. You know what I mean? Like, my godparents would hate this.
Yeah, I would. Oh my god, I would never watch this with my parents. The Horny Mermaids and stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh, especially that.
I mean,
don't do that.
well, my mom loves Robert, so I'm like referring to them by their first names and shit. Like, Robert, Willem, we all love them.
Watch you spill your beans. Watch you spill your beans. Watch you spill your beans.
Yeah. Okay. So a little more synopsis in the film. The characters' names are Ephraim Winslow, which is the Robert Pattinson character, and
So we
Thomas
think.
Wake is Willem Dafoe. And yes, so we think.
Something
and-
happens, like, I mean, spoiler, right? Like, you're on this island with them for so long, or for so little, like, you don't really know, that they don't even, like, their identities are just kind of, they start to kind of, like, become an amalgamation, and you don't know who's who, and, like, what is real, what is going on. I need answers.
And I'm glad we don't get definitive answers. It feels like a lot of movies nowadays kind of veer into that.
Yeah.
Like, we have to spend minutes explaining everything. Like, I tweeted about it the other day because we're recording this really soon after the new Terminator came out, and I ended up liking it a lot, and I'm as shocked as anyone to say that. But even that still had like the modern franchise issues of like, here's what's happening. We're going to explain every little ounce of like the plot and like the character motivation so the audience doesn't get lost. Okay, we're moving on now. And it's like, it was doing good before that.
Right.
You don't have to go through all the little like nooks and crannies to make sure. You don't have to hold audience's hands.
So far down the line in a franchise, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a sixth Terminator. People know. Like, they know. They know what's up. Unlike the Lighthouse, which I think people are still trying to get a grasp on. But yeah, it's a story about two men who may be one man, and I think some of the great like art is always up for interpretation. Not everything. Sometimes it's nice to have clear-cut stories. Like James Cameron films are not like they're not hard to understand. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. They're not ambiguous. They're like, he keeps it simple, and he's not a bad writer. He's very broad though, and I think there's a merit to that too. But I love the David Lynch comparison he made to this, because this is totally like like when I first walked out of it, I was like, oh, that's about the gig economy. Like, that's just where my mind went.
Oh my god, you're too funny.
Oh, no, I'm completely serious, too.
I know, that's the thing. I know you're totally serious about it. I don't know where my mind went. I was just like, holy... I don't even know what my thoughts are. I can't even remember, because first of all, like, TIFF was a million years ago, it seems. But I do remember immediately knowing that I needed to rewatch it.
I think the big thing for me as I was watching it, like, just unravel, because it doesn't so much like follow a story as it does unravel. Like, we see the two lighthouse keepers. That's what they're called, lighthouse keepers. What the fuck? Cleaning up around the area. They have to keep up the maintenance. They have to make sure everything flows accordingly. Keep clean water. Don't drink on the job, which changes very quickly. Obviously.
Also, this movie's fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah, it's so funny. The witch has like not a single ounce of humor in it, and like that's not what that movie's going for. So obviously that's totally fine. But I was just surprised to see what a funny bone this guy had.
I know, he's perfect.
Like,
I hope he's listening to this.
I hope so too, Robert. If you ever make that Nosferatu movie and you need someone to help you out on set, I got you. Whatever you want. I'll be a runner.
I thought you were gonna be like, if you needed someone to be a vampire, here's your girl. But you didn't.
Oh yeah,
help me out that way at all.
Also, if you need someone to be a vampire, here's your girl.
Thanks.
No problem. What's her name? Mina. Every Nosferatu / Dracula movie needs a Mina.
There's a Mina for sure.
So there you go. There's your Mina.
Thank you.
Here is your Mina. But yeah, we're seeing them go about like their daily business, and it's like very clear that it's just grating, horrible work for like probably very little pay. These are not well-dressed dudes. Although I've been told like the outfits they wear are actually like very warm.
Yeah.
So that's why it's okay for them to get like drowned, just like standing on a rock somewhere.
Oh my god, can you imagine?
Well, Robert Eggers, didn't he say he almost like attacked, or Robert Pattinson almost attacked like Robert Eggers? Like, they have a good working relationship, but at a certain point, when you're getting hit with like the 70th blast of a fire hose, it might reach your breaking point.
Yikes. Oh god, I feel like filming that must have been a fucking nightmare. Especially like with some of this, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have mixed feelings about that kind of filming style, because it's like, you're acting. You don't. I think Ridley Scott said it like at a round table one time that just because you're filming Mount Everest doesn't mean you have to be on Everest.
Right. That's a good
point.
Like
I think the point he made was that like, I didn't go to Mars to shoot The Martian. Like, that would be ridiculous to even try. And it's like broad, but I get it,
Oh god, this movie, man. Like, oh my god, Robert Pattinson loves to like come on screen, huh?
Oh yeah, I guess 2019, the year of Robert Pattinson come, I guess. Go watch High Life, everyone. It's really
I actually
weird.
have not seen High Life yet. Is it as weird as The Lighthouse?
No, it's pretty straightforward, all things considered. Your mileage may vary. I know Claire Denis can be kind of a mixed bag if you're not familiar with her. She's one of the filmmakers this year that I've kind of like been going back and like, oh, this is a big blind spot. I'm trying to fill that. So okay. I'm getting there, but
that would be a good double feature, right? Like The Lighthouse and High Life.
Maybe. I don't know. I need to both. Yeah, but like
that's the thread.
Okay, I guess so. Yeah. Carpenter's got his Apocalypse trilogy. Robert Pattinson, he needs to complete the Cum trilogy. He needs one more.
Batman.
Oh yeah, he needs to have like a vigorous masturbation scene in Batman.
I would fucking watch that, honestly. But anyway, back to Horny Mermaids.
Well, just like really quick, I think it's also important to note that Robert Pattinson's apparently like a huge weirdo, like a fun one. But
didn't
still,
he say that he likes to get peed on or something?
I don't know about that one.
Say, I'm sure, or pun. Oh no! Oh my god! Cut that out. Don't cut it out. Leave it in. He likes to be spit on. That's what it was. He said.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one I get.
I almost started a rumor about Robert Pattinson liking golden showers. I'm so sorry.
Oh yeah, there's like a leap, from spitting to pissing.
Fuck.
So.
Oh my god, how embarrassing. I'm so sorry. Anyway, that's not what this podcast is about. It's about The Lighthouse, which you told me, like, I think it was you, that you thought like the lighthouse was a phallic symbol, right?
Oh yeah, it's just a penis.
Elaborate.
Okay, so you kind of have to go back to The Witch also, because The Witch is very much about like femininity and
energy,
and like a place where it's very clearly not welcomed, and not many places do welcome it still, which is the big problem, and I think the point of that film.
Do you think that in The Lighthouse it's about like what happens when it's just pure masculine energy, like the chaos that ensues?
Yeah, and when they're isolated and they're like confined in a space that they need to survive, like regardless of what Robert Pattinson's character did prior to getting onto The Lighthouse, like I think it's purposefully ambiguous. He could be running from something. He could be just trying to get by. He could just be like depressed. Like it doesn't matter. Like he's stuck in this situation with another person that might just be like a part of his broken psyche, and it's eating away at both of these entities. And I mean, it's like it's not even subtle. Like when he's like masturbating, it keeps cutting between like him fucking the mermaid that may or may not be there and the lighthouse.
I'm
like,
sure that the mermaid was not there. How could you fuck a mermaid? She doesn't even have legs.
No. There's a mermaid vagina in the film. I don't think the mermaid was there, but that's it's a quick one. It's like some Tony Scott style editing. There's just like little flashes
of mermaid vagina.
Yeah, it's there. There's an interview where Robert Eggers talks about like, or he's asked about like designing mermaid genitalia.
Mermaid pussy, Jesus.
Yeah.
That's
it's
amazing.
A whole thing.
That's great. Okay, love that.
Yeah, great like effects and like practical makeup on the mermaid too. Like that was very impressive because it's not a big fantasy film, but like that stuff held up, I thought, on camera.
I think it's super fantastical. Like I think the light itself is like super mystical. I don't know. I could be wrong, but it felt.
Well, I guess let me. I misspoke. I guess it's totally more fantasy. Like if we have to like apply genres to it, which I would not recommend. Sometimes movies can be more than one thing.
Well, actually, all times they are more than one thing. But anyway.
Yeah.
Who am I to say?
I know it's just nonsense. Anyways, I agree with you. But like The Witch is definitely much more scary to me. This film is not really scary, but the final image is like horrifically unsettling, which we'll get to. We'll get to that. That one was like, ooh, we're ending there? Holy shit.
You know what's crazy? I think that they're actually both equally scary to me because, and not to be that feminist or anything, but like...
No, do it.
I know we talked about The Witch and what it means to me, but like also The Lighthouse was fucking terrifying because there's just so much masculine energy and it is frightening when it's that catastrophic. Do you know what I mean? Especially one of the last scenes where like Robert's character is like arguing with Willem's character, whatever their names may be, because we're not even sure who's who anymore. It's just so aggressive and it's so fucking scary to me. Like I was actually like kind of frozen during those scenes, not only because the acting was so phenomenal, but also because I was like this is like pure masculine energy here and it's chaotic as fuck and I hate it.
Well, it's terrifying. I wouldn't want to be stuck there with them. Exactly. Yeah, I guess in that sense, maybe that's my like flaw as like a man. Then I didn't even consider
stop
that.
I did not mean to make it like that, but
no, I don't think you're wrong. Yeah.
And also, there's nothing scarier to me than being stuck in one place for so long, and that speaks to my commitment issues. But anyway, this is not a therapy session.
I am not qualified for that.
Yeah, go on.
Where even was I? Hang on, sorry. Oh yeah, the mermaid vagina, obviously. It's a bunch of like mishmash of images at a certain point. Like it's a standard like narrative thread, a slow build to like rising tension that we don't fully understand. But I mean, from the get-go, with the comedy stuff that was brought up, Robert Eggers makes farts funny again, and I have not like laughed at a fart.
Oh my god, right?
Ever. Like this is honest to God, I've never found farts funny. Ever. Like they're just not funny to me. I think they're gross. Even in middle school when people were playing pranks and stuff, I'd be like, that's gross. That's not funny. So that tells you how fun I was.
The way that he does it is like it's such a part of their characterization that I don't know, it's like it sounds dumb, but the farts are like a part of their relationship and their relationship dynamic because like isn't it that Willem does it to bother Robert?
Well, yeah, I think that's the whole thing.
And so that's what's funny to me. Like, it's not the fart itself, but I think it's really interesting how he, like, uses it as... like, he uses farts as a way to establish their relationship dynamic, and it's fucking awesome.
And it just keeps escalating from there.
Right.
And, I mean, there's a severe implication that if it is two people, that Willem Dafoe's Thomas character is gaslighting Robert Pattinson's Thomas character before we find out he's Thomas. And the whole, like he might be getting off on, like, controlling this younger man with him. There's this, like, at first kind of subtle, low-key, like, homoerotic energy, and then later it's just, like, definitely. It's blatant.
It's
at
fucking
a certain point.
Awesome.
No, it's great. Yeah, they want to either kill each other or fuck each other, and... It's just how like I don't remember the last time I saw that in like an American film.
I don't know, but all I know is that I was living for it and the dancing that they were doing.
The drunken dancing in this movie is incredible.
Dance! Dance, Winslow! Dance! Come on, you boys, the what do here? How we got to the woods last year? Into the sleigh we jumped our boots. Take my gun in a big dog.
I also want to shout out just the look of the film. It's shot in like, hang on, I actually want to look this up because I love the aspect ratio because I know it's not the standard Academy shit. What is it? What are you? Okay, the aspect ratio is 1.19 to 1. Yes. And it's shot in black and white film stock. And I found this out just by listening to Robert Eggers talk about it because I became obsessed with this movie too. And apparently black and white film stock has not changed since the 1950s.
Nope.
And the look and the lighting, the film is it provides
It's-
like this natural deep contrast between the light and the darkness.
I'm like moaning because it's like the fucking best thing I've ever seen. It's so fucking beautiful. Like it's I'm gonna be bold right now. Visually, no, I can't. I can't say it. I can't even
Say it.
No.
No, you have to. You have to.
No. It's like visually equal to The Witch. It's so good. There's like a weird kind of graininess to it, and like if someone didn't know better and if someone didn't recognize both Robert and Willem, like they would immediately assume that this shit was from like the 50s for sure. Like it's so good. The dialect is like perfect. I don't know. It's oh my god, like I need a moment.
Okay. Well, I can keep going if you'd like.
Yeah, you can go ahead. You can go ahead.
Okay.
I'll just catch my breath.
Okay, thanks. We'll start wrapping up soon. But the look of the film is what really impressed me beyond anything. Just the staging.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem that like difficult, but like every image feels like so perfectly like compacted around these performances. You know, like he knows when to cut. He knows when to move the camera. He's not a flashy filmmaker, but he's a very great he's a great filmmaker. You know, I think
Right.
a great filmmaking isn't just like throwing as much at the camera as possible. It's when to know to use the camera and how to use the camera, when to push in, when to move on, when enough is enough. Because by the end point of the film, when they just go crazy and start trying to like drink each other to death or like beat a seagull to death, which is the thing that happens in this movie, and literally chase each other around with an axe. It's insane. It's like genuinely crazy.
What was your take on that seagull thing?
Robert Pattinson's Thomas was had reached his breaking point, and like all these little annoyances had built up, and so he's clearly like he's a dude dealing with some shit before he got there, and so he just like blew up and killed the seagull. So he was like, "Fuck this seagull." But I also think that was ingrained, like that action was ingrained into him by Willem Dafoe's character. I'm not like because Willem Dafoe has controlling over every aspect of his life and not letting him in to see the light in the lighthouse, telling him what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. That he was like, this. He told me not to kill the seagull. Fuck the seagull. I'm gonna kill the seagull.
Right. That's what I was gonna ask. Like, do you think that this shit was for real? Like the spirit of sailors and shit? Or do you think he was just doing that to like exercise control?
I think it's a weird blend of the two, where Robert Pattinson kills the seagull as just a fuck you to Willem Dafoe. And depending on how much you buy into the fantasy elements of the film,
I'm gonna say that I like the idea of it being like for real the souls of dead seamen, because it does add to the fantastical elements, and I love like a good sea tale. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, and then just the way it all unravels from that point on, I could totally roll with that. And by the end, I think that's a pretty definitive like final moment. So we'll just hop there. After they basically spend like a good portion of the finale like hunting each other down, and Robert Pattinson finally like defeats Willem Dafoe and makes him walk around like a dog.
Kind of kinky, huh?
Yeah, like it's some clear like homoerotic stuff going on there. And
I fucking
Robert
love
Eggers
that
is
shit.
yeah, it's like it's super fucked up the situation, but it's also like kind of delightful to see like just a movie this like open with itself and like who its characters are. Like that's nice, you know. By the time they end up like basically battling to the death, and Robert Pattinson has to kill him, and he's clearly not broken up about it.
I'm just saying, like, so we think at the end of everything.
Oh, I guess he could not be dead, right? It could have just been one person. It could have been the manifestation of his own like subconscious or something like that, right? Like, here's a fun read on it, really quick. I read that like, oh, he's been on the Lighthouse for so long that it is Willem Dafoe's character actually. It's not Robert Pattinson's perspective. And I didn't read too much more into that, but I was like, just really quick, that's kind of a fun idea. Like,
So it's like Willem Dafoe created this like Robert Pattinson character.
yeah, and he's doomed to live out this cycle for like however long it is. And by the final frame of the moment, when after he gets into the lighthouse and starts screaming some weird dubstep noise, and we cut to him on the shore with the seagulls eating at his intestines and him missing an eye.
Oh my fucking god, so good. I forgot all about that until right now.
It's the shit, and it's the best moment of the movie for me. But I think that clearly indicates that, like, yeah, this is fantasy. And to what capacity, I think, determines on the viewer. I kind of like the idea that it's... I read this. This is not my take, but my friend Esther Rosenfield had written up a quick take that this was kind of about the story of Prometheus, but through like the lens of the American worker.
Ooh.
Yeah, like the lighthouse is like the unattainable fire, and when man finally like grasps it, they're like unworthy, and they're like doomed to forever suffer because of it. And I just really like that.
I love that. What's your friend's name?
Esther Rosenfield.
Esther Rosenfield, you really did that. You really did that. I mean, I'll be totally honest, and this is going to make me sound like a bad film person, but I don't really know the Prometheus story too well, so I can't really speak to that. But I like what you said about, like, the unattainable, attaining the unattainable. Or what she said about attaining the unattainable.
I think the whole, like... Well, if anyone's seen Ridley Scott's excellent 2012 film Prometheus, they know what's up. But no, I mean that's basically the concept of Prometheus. Like, there's more going on in that fable, but that's ultimately like the gist of the story. And I think that's why when I came out, like, because I did not have the Prometheus reading when I walked out of the theater, and I talked to you very quickly after I saw the film, and I did not have that initially. But
you did like it, and so our friendship was able to become maintained because I really was ready to never talk to you again.
Wow, that's hurtful and inspiring in a weird way. But I did love it, and I did still walk out with the idea about it being gig economy. And even with the Prometheus reading, I still think that holds up, because like capitalism is this whole thing where like anyone can do it, anyone can be rich, and it's like it's clearly not how the system is designed. Like once a handful of people have the wealth, they just hoard it for themselves. Like, the whole thing about billionaires is that, like, you know, like, that's... No one should have that much wealth. Like, that's just... You could never run out of wealth at that point. Like, you could spend all the money in the world and you'll be rich forever still. And so, like, at a certain point, you're stepping on other people to maintain that.
Yeah. That's depressing.
Oh, yeah. Sorry for taking us all there.
It's okay.
This is what my podcast has devolved into. Just
it's okay.
Complaining about the 1%.
I will gladly be a part of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So this was a weird episode, but I'm glad we did it, and I'm glad you convinced me to do it.
I'm glad we did this too. We actually, for those listening, tried to do this on Friday, but instead we watched Long Shot, and it was, well, instead Diego watched Long Shot, and I fell asleep.
And I would recommend Long Shot to some people.
I love Long Shot. But anyway, I digress. We did try to record this as soon as possible because, it had been so long since I saw it. And so we planned from, like, I think literally when I saw it, I texted you and, like, we said we should do an episode on it. But, God, it's been, like, a month and a half now, so I don't remember much. But I hope I still did the movie justice.
I think you did.
Thank you.
What else you could do justice is to yourself by giving out your plug so people could follow you because you're great.
Thank you. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at sick__66. That's pretty much all I'm advertising right now. Oh, and definitely go listen to my podcast. It's Sequels, SEEQUELS. I host that with Shaq and Sarah Sorrentino. They are, honestly, not to get emotional, but they are like the best co-hosts I could have ever asked for. I love them very much. And, you know, it's fun over there. So definitely check that out.
Definitely go check out all that. And Sequels is one of my favorite podcasts. And
Oh.
I've been suffering for 2 weeks without a new episode. So,
I
no rush.
I'm
Do
so
what you got to do.
sorry.
I get
When
it.
is this episode gonna come out?
I'm going to try to have it up tomorrow.
Oh my god, please do, please do, please do.
Okay.
Yay.
And of course, you can follow me at twitter.com/the Diego Crespo. Check out the Waffle Press on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, and Patreon, where I post sneak peeks of stuff we're doing soon. I'm trying to have more Happy Amblin stuff available. Don't blame Matt. The American healthcare industry is terrible, but we're getting back to it. So keep an eye out for all of Happy Amblin stuff and all the other stuff we got coming out soon. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We have been professionally unprofessional.
Have you ever had someone spit on you, like, in a kind of erotic way?
Let me think about it for a second. No, I haven't. I haven't had that.
It's pretty great.
It's good, yeah?
pretty great.
How long have we been on this rock? 5 weeks? 2 days? Help me to recollect.